Hello people of the internet, I'm Jontje, I'm autistic. Generally, right now and in general, as it should be, the assumption is that one should do things that are good for the environment. Because, we've been spending the last, few hundred years destroying it. Generally, a lot of people, me included, are trying to do more, change the way they do things to be more friendly to the environment. The problem with that and being autistic is that trying new things isn't always the most pleasant experience. What I'm trying to do is make a list of things that are, one, more environmentally friendly than, how you usually do things. And two, also for me at least, specifically sort of accommodate my sensory differences a bit more than how they are normally done. And I've already said that, I think. And so yes, we have a list of 6 things, I think. So let's start with number 1. And number 1 is, if you're autistic, or for many autistic people, at least for me, washing your hair is not a very pleasant experience. And I don't know, I just don't like the way normal shampoo feels on your hands, and you have to put it on your hands, or even if you were to put it directly on your head, it sort of starts running everywhere. No. And what I found there is actually that there's these things that are, I don't know, they probably called shampoo bars or something. They look like a bar of soap, but it's soap for your hair. Actually there's soap for hair, and then there's specific shampoo that is a bar. And there's a weird difference, and I actually wouldn't commend the soap bars, because my experience is you can get them into your hair, but then you can't get them out, but that depends on your water quality, I think, or what minerals are in your water. My water apparently isn't very good at, getting it out of my hair, and the hair gets very sticky and it's kind of gross. But the sort of actual shampoo bars are actually quite good, because instead of, having to sort of handle some sort of liquid, you can just take the bar and, rub it over your hair and then wash it out. Which I find a lot better, at least. And you don't need to use a plastic packaging. You can just... And by the way, I do appreciate doing environmental tips surrounded by what is basically dead trees. But anyway, tip number 2. And another thing that generally sort of is, 1, very autism friendly and 2, very environmental friendly, is repairing your clothes or changing them so they are acceptable. And repairing, obviously, it makes your clothes last longer, so you don't need to buy new ones, so new ones don't need to be produced so often, so there's less waste. And the sort of autism-friendly part is, 1, you don't need to buy clothes, which can be very exhausting, and repairing clothes makes them last longer, which, you don't... If they're your favorite clothes, that's helpful. But what it's almost more important to me in this respect is actually changing clothes. And the most known one is probably cutting the tags off or sort of getting a little sort of needle-like thing. I don't know what it's called, but basically you can use it to cut open the seams. It's like a needle, and then at the very end there's a little sort of knife or a very sharp edge, so that you can sort of get it under the seam, and then if you move it, and then it'll cut the seam. That's I'm not very good at explaining, I think, but that will, first of all, for text, you don't need to like mess around with the scissors and actually accidentally get holes into your clothes, which you probably just bought. And you know, if you don't have the best coordination, well, it's a little more safer than, you know, messing around with scissors. And you can also use it, or what I use it a lot, for example, is for t-shirts. I really don't like it if like you have too much stuff under your arms. So what I do a lot is actually, especially with a lot of old t-shirts that I bought before I started thinking about that maybe I should wear clothes that are comfortable. What happened there? I should wear clothes that, you know, are comfortable. That is something that you should pay attention to. And I didn't really, I liked them generally, but they were uncomfortable. So I just cut all I took the seams here at the edge and just cut them open with that thing all the way around, which I don't think you could, which would be very, very hard with normal scissors. Tip number 3, where are we? Oh yeah, is environmental friendly paper. There's some types of paper which are usually the normal paper that are like such bright white that you can't even read them properly. You need to squint to even read or write on them. And I really, really like there's like white environmental friendly paper now, but I still I have always preferred the sort of really, when I was little, the environmental friendly paper was like gray. It was really almost like not dark gray, but like quite like this gray kind of on my shirt. And I like that, and I'm really sad that you can't really find that anymore, because that was the best kind of paper. But yeah, the darkest environmental friendly paper you can find, basically. I don't know if there's actually a difference between white environmental friendly and gray environmental friendly paper, but just for the autism, not for the environment. Number 4, which is slightly weird and more autism specific than environmental friendly specific, but anyway. Because it's cutlery, basically. And I'm someone who really doesn't like the feel of plastic, which is actually quite helpful if you're wanting to be environmental friendly. And I also don't, at least when I'm eating, I also don't like that scraping sound that the cutlery makes on plates, whether that's like plastic on sort of plastic, or whether that's plastic or metal. I don't care. Either one is bad. So what I do a lot is just eat with wooden cutlery. But I mean, generally, I think, I don't know, I always have actually a sort of, usually it's just a fork. It's not like an entire set of cutlery. It's just a fork in my backpack in case I'm somewhere where I don't like the cutlery, or if I ever happen to buy, you know, something from somewhere that you need cutlery to eat it with, which can happen quite a lot because I often forget to take food, which is not very environmental friendly, I'm aware. But that can sort of, both save you from having to eat with either not being able to eat because there's no proper cutlery, or having to eat with cutlery that you really don't like. I don't know. I don't even know if this is actually relevant anymore, because I know a lot of places have just been banning plastic cutlery. So maybe that's not relevant anymore. But if you don't like plastic cutlery, or if you don't like this sort of wooden whatever cutlery that a lot of places have now, if they're trying not to have cutlery, I'm just saying cutlery a lot. But anyway, then you can take whatever you want to have instead. Because I'm not a big fan of the wooden. They're very, very flimsy, the wooden ones, and I don't know. I'm always afraid to get splinters from eating, which would be it wouldn't feel very nice, would it? Number 5, right? 5. Number 5 is a similar thing, which is applies to bottled water, and I've made a whole video about this, so I think there. And well, I personally prefer glass bottles, and if tap water is drinkable where you live, which I know it is not always, and you don't necessarily need to like the tap water that is there, even if it is generally safe to drink. But if that's the case, then you can just have, a glass bottle, either like pretty bought one or just a random one that had water in it already. And you can just fill that up again and again. Or you actually buy... I just personally have made the experience that water in glass bottles, or to some extent water from metal bottles. I know there's like cans of water now that aren't plastic but are the sort of like the soft drinks you normally get. I don't know how environmental friendly they are, but since they're made of sort of metal, I guess they might seem slightly more environmental friendly than plastic, though I am not entirely sure on that, and I should have probably researched that beforehand. But yeah, well, basically that can sometimes actively make water taste better, and is also probably better for the environment. And finally, number 6. Last one is also a very weird one, I think. Dimmable light switches. Yes, that's definitely weird. And I know that's not necessarily something that you can just sort of apply like that. But, well, bright light can be not very nice for autistic people. Or for many autistic people, probably not all. And it's also sort of being able to dim the lights needs less electricity, so it's usually more environmentally friendly, except if you're, using solar, and although probably even then, because it would like need less energy and therefore you could save more and therefore the equipment is less used. Maybe, I'm not sure. If you're using solar, it saves energy and therefore you have more energy to spend on other things. Yeah. That was my list. I hope you've enjoyed it. Or found something useful. I don't know how enjoyable it is. And I would appreciate it if you could, like this video if it helped you. If you have a YouTube account. If not, then I don't know, maybe you have an Instagram account or something and you could, follow me there. And or also possibly subscribe to this YouTube channel to get more videos like this, which usually do appear every Friday out of thin air, although technically they don't need to because they're on the internet. That was figurative. Anyway, and I will hopefully, if you're subscribed, see you next Friday. Bye.